All right, let's get into it. To really understand one of the greatest athletes of all time, you can't start in some huge stadium, not with all the screaming fans. No. The story of Cristiano Ronaldo, it starts on the tiny Portuguese island of Madeira. It starts with a boy who had nothing but a dream and was about to take on the entire world.
And this quote, it just nails the heart of his entire story. Long before the supercars and the golden trophies, his ambition was the only real thing he owned. It was like this fire burning inside him, and it burned so brightly it would eventually light up the whole world of football.
So, let's rewind. Let's go right back to the very beginning. Chapter 1 of this incredible journey is all about poverty, struggle, and this relentless desire for something more, all forged in the narrow, steep streets of his hometown, Funchal.
I mean, we're not just talking about a humble beginning here. This was tough. Just try to imagine it. You're a kid, lying awake at night in a tiny room you share with your brother, paint peeling off the walls, and you're dreaming of these massive stadiums you've only ever seen on a grainy TV. Well, that was his reality.
And here's the thing about these hardships. They all shaped him. When the roof leaked, you learned resilience. When there wasn't always enough food on the table, you learned what real hunger feels like. His first soccer pitch wasn't some perfectly manicured lawn. It was just a dusty, uneven dirt patch where he learned to play barefoot. And through all this, his father, who was battling his own demons with alcoholism, gave him a football. It was his dad's unlived dream, and for Cristiano, that ball became his only escape.
This might be the single most powerful piece of his origin story. His mother actually confessed this to him years later. And instead of letting that break him, he took that raw, unbelievable pain and turned it into pure rocket fuel. He started to see his own life as a victory against all odds, like it was a sign he was meant for something huge.
Okay, so let's move on to what happens next. Because, a dream is one thing, but at some point it has to meet an opportunity. And for Cristiano, that meant making the single biggest sacrifice of his entire young life.
Just 12 years old. Think about that for a second. At an age when most of us were worried about, homework or playing with our friends, Cristiano was getting ready to leave his entire world behind to chase his dream at the Sporting CP Academy. Can you even imagine that moment? Leaving your mom, your home, that salty island air, literally everything you've ever known, to fly into a complete unknown. He was terrified, you can bet on that, but he was also determined. This right here was the first true test of his will. And what was waiting for him in Lisbon? Not exactly a red carpet. It was more like a trial by fire. The city was huge, it was cold, it was lonely. In the academy, the academy would push him to his absolute limit and shape that little boy into a warrior. And get this, the challenges just got even harder. First, the other boys made fun of his thick Madeiran accent. They called him a crybaby because he'd cry himself to sleep at night, he was so homesick. Then, at 15, doctors found a racing heart condition. It needed surgery, and it threatened to end his entire career before it even really began. He faced it all head-on. So how did he react to all this? Did he quit? No way. He worked while other kids were sneaking out and having fun. He was alone on the training pitch, practicing free kicks until they literally turned the lights off. His coaches realized this wasn't just dedication, it was a complete and total obsession.
And that kind of obsession, it was bound to lead to a breakthrough, right? So let's shift to that moment, the moment the world first really took notice, and a skinny kid from Madeira arrived at one of the biggest clubs on the planet, Manchester United.
His rise? Wow, it was like a rocket ship. It all kicks off with this now legendary friendly match in 2003, where he just completely dismantled the Manchester United defense. The United players themselves went to their manager and begged him to sign this kid on the spot. But it wasn't all smooth sailing. In 2006, he faced this vicious media campaign against him in England. And how did he respond? By winning his first Ballon d'Or just 2 years later.
And Man United, they absolutely put their money where their mouth was. They paid what was then a record-breaking fee for a teenager. Sir Alex Ferguson didn't just see a talented player, he saw a future legend.
And this quote from Sir Alex Ferguson? This is everything. It's the key to his whole transformation. Under Fergie, Ronaldo learned to evolve. He went from being this flashy winger who just loved doing tricks and stepovers to a ruthless, efficient champion who was obsessed with the end product, scoring goals and winning games, period.
That whole incident at the 2006 World Cup with his teammate Wayne Rooney, honestly, that could have destroyed another player. The English press was brutal, he was getting death threats. But Ronaldo? He channeled all that hate, all that negativity, and used it as fuel. He came back to England and had his best season ever, scoring an unbelievable 42 goals.
And believe it or not, that unstoppable force, he was just warming up. His next move would see him transform from a champion into one of the most lethal goal-scoring machines the world has ever seen.
So in 2009, Real Madrid comes along and just smashes the world transfer record to bring him to Spain. It was a massive statement, and Ronaldo was more than ready to deliver on a scale nobody had ever seen before.
Just take a look at these numbers. Seriously, let them sink in. He scored more goals than games he played for Real Madrid. That's not supposed to be possible. This wasn't just success. This was complete and total domination of the sport. He completely redefined what everyone thought was possible.
And of course, you can't talk about this era without talking about the rivalry, one of the greatest in sports history. On one side, you had Messi, the magical artist, like he was born with this impossible gift. And on the other, you had Ronaldo, the relentless machine who forged his greatness through sheer, unbreakable will. It was this epic clash of styles that pushed them both to absolutely unimaginable heights.
So when you zoom out and look at the whole picture, what's his legacy really about? It's so much more than just goals and trophies. It's a blueprint for turning struggle into strength and turning dreams into reality.
Yeah, off the pitch, he built this massive global empire, the CR7 brand. But, and this is so important, he never, ever forgot where he came from. He quietly donates millions to charity, he pays for kids' medical treatments, and he is fiercely loyal to the family that started this whole journey with him.
So if there's one thing you take away from his story, let it be this. Every single hardship he faced, the poverty, the loneliness, the mockery, that health scare, none of it was a roadblock. It was the very material he used to build his throne. His struggle became his superpower.
And that kind of leaves us with one last powerful question. His story isn't really just about football, is it? It's about the limitless potential of human will. It proves that maybe the only thing separating the person you are from the person you want to become is the courage to believe it's possible.